Let's look at the DNA from a squash from my garden. Hi there, this is Big Spruce Rabbitry, and I've been teaching some classes for UAF SMART Academy, and one of my classes is Living Chemistry, where kids get to go through and do some really cool experiments to understand the world of chemistry, and one of those is a DNA extraction. So today, I'll be taking you through the DNA extraction of a squash from my garden. Hope you enjoy! Here's a list of what you will need to do your DNA extraction. So DNA is found in the nucleus of cells inside of the squash. Now a squash like this is a plant, and plants have a hard cell wall that we need to break out open to be able to get to the DNA. So I'm going to do it here with a mortar and pestle. Now you don't have to use a big nasty squash like this. I'm just using it because I found it in my root cellar and it wasn't doing too well and we weren't going to eat it. So I'm going to go ahead and break this guy open. The reason I need to squish up my squash so much is because squash is a plant, and plants have a very thick cell wall that holds in the DNA, and that cell wall is what I'm trying to break down mechanically by just squishing it the heck out of it. So I'll walk you through what you'll need to do your DNA extraction. You'll want to have some fruit to crush up. I've squashed some squash here, but strawberries or other frozen fruits like that are going to be nice and squishy will work well for you. You'll want to have some salt, isopropyl alcohol, water, and this non-fragrance soap. So the soap that comes in your kit is specifically chosen for this. If you have a soap that has fragrance, it will actually interact with the DNA and might make the experiment not work. You'll want to have your labeling tape and marker, a coffee filter, both of your beakers and both of your cylinders, and of course gloves. Now, this experiment is not dangerous. It's not going to hurt you, even though your body does have DNA in it, and you could extract DNA from yourself doing this first, but you'd have to send yourself through a mortar and pestle to squish it up enough. So this experiment's pretty safe, but if you were actually working in a laboratory, you would need to wear gloves to protect the DNA from you, because you have lots of DNA, and that would contaminate your sample. Now, we're not going to do the sequence on your DNA or anything like that, so if a little bit of human DNA gets into your experiment, it's not going to destroy it. You're going to take your gallon bag and label it. Next, you'll want to label your large beaker with extraction solution. Now you'll want to measure 10 milliliters of soap and 90 milliliters of your distilled water. So 50 mils plus 40 mils on your cylinder. Pour your soap and water together and swish it around so it doesn't bubble too much. You're just trying to mix it a little bit. And there you have your extraction solution. The exact amount of squished fruit that you're going to extract DNA on doesn't really matter that much. I'm going to basically measure out 1 little cup of it, but a 1/4 cup-ish, 1 strawberry-ish should be about right. Chemistry is basically cooking, so there's a lot of cases where you don't have to be that exact in your measurements to be able to make the experiment work. And this is one place where it really doesn't matter that much. So I'm going to put in this cup of squished up squash into the bag. So now I'm going to add my extraction solution to the bag and squish it around for about 10 minutes. So what the extraction solution is doing is breaking down the plasma membranes around the cells and exposing the DNA. Looks pretty nasty, doesn't it? So I've let my soapy, squishy, gooey, salty, nasty squash sit for about 10 minutes. And now it's time to strain it. But before I strain it, I'm going to want to wash my 2 beakers because we'll be using those in the extraction. And you're going to want to change your labels. Now if you're working with a strawberry, your goo is probably not going to be as thick as the squash is. So you won't need to go and get a strainer. But if you did do a plant that was really squishy the way the squash is and you get basically goop out of it like this thick, you will probably need a strainer. Otherwise you can just do it with coffee filters. So that's my first extraction from the squash. This is basically just the juice and basically any goop that came out of it. So now I'm going to want to filter my squash juice through a coffee filter into my smaller beaker to get it clearer. But don't forget to label your beakers. So you're just going to shove your coffee filter in the top and start pouring in the juice. I'm going to have to filter this a few times to get it clear, and I'll come back to show you when that's done. So I had to filter that squash juice through 4 coffee filters before I got it even this clear. And I don't think I'm going to get it much clearer, so we're just going to go ahead and see if we can get the DNA out of this. So you'll want to take 5 milliliters of your alcohol. It doesn't actually matter exactly how much goes in, but it is better if you chill it in the freezer for about 10 minutes before you drop it into your solution. I didn't chill this because I didn't have a freezer available, so we'll see how well this works. I'm going to mix it around a little bit gently and then let it sit for about 10 minutes and see if we start seeing a nice clear layer at the top. That will be DNA. So I've given the DNA a little bit of time to develop, and you'll notice a clear layer at the top of your beaker. If you take a pair of tweezers, you can actually reach in there and pick up a little blob of DNA. There we go. Oh, I saw one. I'll bring over the camera closer so you can see, but you'll be able to see this a lot better at home when you're actually doing the experiment. See those little strings? Those are DNA molecules. So that's the DNA from one of my squash. Thanks for watching, and like and comment and subscribe.